So remember, in ANT, you can attempt any task if you take up the proper approach. First, you yourself imagine, if I want to automate a copy step. So what do you think as inputs that you need? One, you need to have the input location, which file you want to copy or which directory you want to copy. Two, which file or which directory. So naturally, a copy method, a copy task will require the input location as well as the output location. So this will be the parameters for your copy task. Is it correct? And since copy is a write operation, fundamentally even if the other end does not exist, it will go and create the required directory structure. Okay. So first try to understand what does this task expect as input and what is the output of this output of a task. In that way you can understand tasks pretty comfortably. So I will show you how do you approach any task. Very detailed manual, you have a lot of examples. So the most important thing is how to understand a particular task and how to use in your practice. Okay. So what is a copy task? Copy is a file or a resource collection to a file or directory. Very simple. Copy a file or directory to a new file or another directory respectively. Okay. Now, what are the things that are required? Here you can see the key thing is the parameters for any task. So what is a parameter? Fundamentally, what are the inputs that you can supply to your tasks to get your work done? Okay. So if you can see here, one fundamental thing is file. The file that you want to copy or the directory, the file set. In general, we call it as file set. A set of files in a directory to copy. So it can be a file or it can be a file set. Then what is the other things that are important? To which file you want to copy or to which directory you want to copy. Okay. So these are the you can see here there is a section called required, which will tell us whether a particular attribute is mandatory or not. So in the initial stage, first look at only those attributes which are mandatory. Get yourself comfortable with executing the task and slowly keep on practicing various other things. Okay. So in this particular copy, only important thing is the file that you want to copy. Okay, that's all. Rest all are optional, including the output, including the destination. Okay. Now once you understood what is copy, now let's go to an example. Very simple example, two very complex examples we can practice. See, if I want to copy a file, okay, it says copy, it is the task. The file that you want to copy, general attributes will be in the form of name and value, file and its value. That is the source. Similarly, destination, to where and what is the name of the destination file. Okay, so this is simply how you understand a particular copy task. So let me take this task as it is. That's how I am going to practice. So I will put this particular, let me create one new file where I can demonstrate the copy task. So let me open my build script which we are working from yesterday. So this is how I set comments. An exclamatory mark followed by 2 hyphens. Similarly, 2 hyphens to end the last tag. In that way, we can set the comments in XML format. It's not related to ANT or anything. It's an XML notation. Okay. Okay. Now let me take a new target. Let me name the new target as say copy demo. I can give any name to my target. and in it let me place my copy statement that I have copied. Now what is the name of my file? My file name is copy.txt. Let me take the name of the file. Okay. So 2 can be anything, so let it be. And my default target is obviously going to be copy demo. So just in case if you find difficulty, just stop me. Do not hesitate for that. And now let me go and execute it. Let's see what will happen. So here you can see copying one file to so and so. Now if you open it, then you can see the my copy.txt created. Okay. So that's a simple task. See, the easiness with ANT will lie in not writing the tasks. The easiness with ANT will lie in your understanding what is the work that you have to do. So if you understand clearly what you want to do, I want to copy this file to this location, or I want to rename this file, I want to delete this file, I want to compile this file. So if you are able to understand what you need to do clearly, writing it in ANT is as simple as writing it in English. That's the kind of comfort you can get when you are writing the scripts. But for that you need to be very clear which file I have to copy, where is that file, to where I have to copy, what is that location. So this is the tough part actually in initial stages. And when you are giving the locations, suppose just imagine this copy.txt is not here. This copy.txt is in another folder. Okay. This is here. Okay. Say for instance, now how do you write your script? You need to be very clear. Okay, my file is inside the copy demo folder. So here I will say copy demo / copy.txt. I was explaining you in the last session, whenever you give the file paths, you have two choices. One is to give absolute path, one is to give relative path. When you want to give the absolute path, it is like this. If you want to go to this file, this is your location, BR and all that blah blah blah, that you have to set here. This is one way to, this is one way to refer your text file that you want to copy, or from the location where you are executing your command, from here up after ANT practice, what is the path that you need to go to reach your file. After ANT practice, you have to go to copy demo and you have to reach your file. So after the directory at which we are executing our ANT command, from there also you can give your path. So this path is relative to the directory at which you are executing your command. That is why it is called as relative path. Okay. So you can, and mostly it is advised to go relative paths, because if you put hard-coded full paths, if you take your script into different machine, it may not work in that machine. That is why it is advised to keep your paths as relative to your working directory as possible. Okay, so hope you have understood this. Now let me delete that file and then execute it again. You can see here my copy.txt is again created. Okay, that is first example of copying one file from one location into another file. Now let's copy this file into directory. Okay. I will copy the same my file copy demo / copy.txt. This is the file that I want to copy to directory. Let me give some other directory. Okay. Let me say demo1 / demo2 / demo3, some directory structure. Okay. Always remember to close this is attribute. Attribute means, see, for target, copy is a child element, but for target, this is an attribute. Generally, for every element in XML, you have an attribute and you have children. Okay, attribute is something that will qualify this particular node. Means target is a node. What is the name of the node? What is so that's called an attribute. Copy here is a child element of the target node. So it is not related to ANT, but is general XML notation. Attributes and child nodes. Attribute will always be in the form of name and value, file and file name, something like that. Name and value pairs. Okay, and you need to put the property and its value in double quotes. Okay. Now let me run this. So copying one file into demo1, demo2, demo3, blah blah blah. You can see here the file got copied. Okay. So here what I want you to understand is copy task, even if the destination is not existing, it will create. Even if the destination is not existing, it will create. That is something I want you to understand. Similarly, let us copy a set of files in a directory into another directory, and then while I am copying, I don't want to include certain files. Okay, so let me just take that example. So what I want to do is, I want to copy a set of files in a directory into another directory, but while I am copying, I don't want to include certain files. Selective copying, actually, this is what I am mean to say. Okay, so I will take an example for you to understand it better. Suppose, see, if you take for example, say so this is my source. Say for example, I'll delete this demo one, we don't need it anymore. So there is a build.xml here, some XML file, some XML file here, and some text files in this. So this is a typical folder structure that I have, for instance. Okay. Now my goal is this. I want to copy contents of this copy demo directory into another directory, but I should not include XML files in that. I want to copy only certain documents which should not contain XML files. That is my target. Okay. So for that I should say copy to directory. What is to directory? To directory is going to be, see, all these things are attributes. If you go above file, to directory, okay, these are all the various attributes. Okay. And do you need to remember this? See, if you open the manual, these are all available as examples. So you don't need to think too much about these things, whether how can I remember all these things, so on. Okay. So let me go to the copy part. Okay. So this is the to directory. So what is my to directory? Let me say dest. Okay. Into the destination directory. What should which directory I want to copy? I want to copy the directory called copy demo. Okay, I want to copy the contents of copy demo, but in that I want to exclude certain files. What are those files? All those files that end with XML. That is what I mean by star.xml. When I say star.xml, it means all the files which end with XML will come under the star.xml. Okay. Similarly, you see here an important thing, */ What is the meaning of this */ What happens without this? See, if I say without this, what does it mean? Copy into directory destination, so destination directory, the contents of the directory copy demo, but excluding the files .xml. When I say this, it will look for .xml in copy demo directory and it will exclude them, but it won't look into the subdirectories. For example, if you see this in the copy demo, there is a build.xml. It will not include this file, but in the test there is another XML. So if you want the ANT to go through recursively directories and its subdirectories, and you want to exclude anywhere you find build.xml, if you want to exclude, then you have to say *//. *// is for recursive folder navigation. Remember that. Not only here, in most places you will require this. If you want to do something recursively into directories, give *// as the filter. It will work. So first I will remove this and then run and show you. If I say ANT, okay, it has copied successfully. Now if you go to the ANT pad, there is a test folder which I want. In this, if you can see the build.xml which was supposed to come has not come. But inside test you can see that the build.xml is existing. Okay. So because it is not going inside the subdirectories. Now I will make a slight change. I will include this recursion and then I will say ANT. Now you can see the destination directory. Here you did not get the build.xml. Neither here you got the build.xml. Okay. So what I mean to say is, whenever you are using *//, which means you are giving more power to your ANT to search through directories and subdirectories also, and anywhere you find a file which ends with .xml, *. Means any file that ends with .xml, it will not be copying it. This is an example about how do you copy the contents of one directory into another directory while skipping certain files in the copy operation. Okay, generally we will be coming across such a task in your day-to-day activity. Suppose you are copying your contents of web files and you don't want to, so which means it will be HTML files and JavaScript files, but there can be some Word documents or like that, and you don't want to include those things. So using this, you can avoid copying those things. Okay, this is an example about how do you copy the contents of a directory into another directory. Similarly, just taking one more step, I told you that this file which you want to copy is mandatory, right? Suppose if the input file is not there, what will happen? I told you that if the destination file does not exist, the destination file or directory structure will be created. If the source file does not exist, what will happen? Say for example, I want to copy this file, copy.1.txt present in the copy demo folder, which we know does not exist anymore. So how does the system react? What will happen to the script? You understand my question? So let me run it. Could not find the file to copy. So when you don't have the source file, build failed. The build does not proceed after this. Even if you put one echo statement after this, okay. If I say ANT, see it has failed at the copy step, so it doesn't execute the statements after that. Build failed. Dot. Okay. Suppose if you are in a scenario where you have a long build process, and if it is instructed to you that even if this step fails, please proceed to next steps and continue. Generally, whenever a task fails, you have to stop the build. That is the best practice. But suppose if it is a case where you are copying documentation, suppose some file is not there, if you are given an instruction saying that even if this step fails, let us continue. Let us continue other steps, so that we know if there are any other problems. In that case, there is one important attribute which you need to remember in either it's in interviews or whether it is in working in the ANT script. This is such an important one. There is an attribute called fail on error. So what does this say? by default, if you see the description of it, by default it is set to true. What does it mean? The fail on error is true, which means if there is an error, you fail. That is the meaning. That is what is happening. There is an error in the copy task and so build is failing. But if you want to override that and don't want to fail the build, you have to say here, any attribute that you see on the screen, you can type like this. Fail on error. What is its default value is true. Now I want to say false. What I mean to say is fail on error is false, which means on error, don't fail. That is the meaning. Suppose if we set this and then if I execute, it says, it logs a warning message saying that it could not find the file to copy, but it doesn't stop. It goes and executes the statements below the failed task as well. Okay. In this way, you can still skip a particular task, not only for copy. Fail on error will be there for lot of tasks. So if you want to, if you are given a situation where even if the task fails, you want to proceed by logging a warning message, that is how you will handle that scenario using the attribute fail on error. By default, fail on error will be set to true, but if you set it as false in your task, it will allow you to continue even if that particular task fails. Okay, so if you look at the delete task, it will delete a file or a directory. So naturally the parameters are going to be either a file or either a directory. Directory means directory including all its files as well as the subdirectories. Then fail on error, whether to stop the build if the deletion fails or continue the build even if the deletion task fails. Okay, then you can see here example, delete file is equal to delete directory is equal to, okay. So let me take delete directory. Target. Okay, so if you see here, I'll give my own target. Okay, I'll give test. I want to delete this target. Okay, remember this target is at the same location as build.xml where I am executing my command currently. So in that case, I need not worry about any directory structure. Dest is my directory. I need to set it as my default task. Okay. Say ANT delete demo. Just deleted the directory. Okay. You can see that the directory got deleted. Similarly, there is a task called make directory. Okay. mkdir means make directory. You can use this make directory to create one directory or create a directory structure. You can say make directory dir is equal to dir1 okay, and then and so you can see created directory structure dir1. Okay. I can also say make directory structure say md1 / md2 / md3 / say Java, something like this. Okay. So it will not just create a directory but also creates a directory structure. So md1, md2, md3, something. Anything you can just create it. So here I want to share one best practice with you. What is that best practice? Whenever you are writing professional build scripts, you can now see we started with one source, right? mycopy.txt, something that let's say that's our source, or copy demo is our source. Now after some comments, can you distinguish now, looking at this folder structure, which are my sources, which are my built artifacts, which are part of the source and which are part of the build? Can you identify? It looks messy, right? So what I want you to understand is, we should not be having the intermediate build artifacts spread onto your source all over it. It is not the best practice. So we should want to have a directory structure properly created for build. Suppose just imagine a Java project. See, first you will compile. If you compile, every Java file will give a class file. So there are 100 Java files, you will get 100 class files. Similarly, if you create a jar, you will get a jar file. Similarly, if you create a zip, you will get a zip file. You don't want to spread them all over the source structure. You create a folder called build. Inside that build folder, you will put all your intermediate artifacts. So finally, when you say delete build, all the build folders will get deleted, because next time when you want to build it, you want to build it clean, right? You don't want to have yesterday's build artifacts available for today's build. It will not give you consistent result. Okay, so what I want to share as a best practice is, do not spray your build artifacts all over your sources. Create a directory build, and inside that build you copy all your required intermediate artifacts that get generated at the time of the build process. And when the build starts, first delete all of the intermediate files and again create empty directories, and then start copying your contents. That is your instruction that you need to follow when you are writing your build script. Clean up everything, first target. Create empty directory structures, second target. Then go write your actual tasks, actual targets. That is your third step. You need to follow these 3 steps when you are writing your build script. Clean will delete the previous build contents. Init will create the required directory structures, empty directory structures. Then comes your actual targets, compile, jar, zip, all these come after that. So any build script you take up, you need to remember that. Otherwise, you will not have a clean build. Okay? So that's why I am sharing this best practice with you. So what we are going to do now is take up a small Java application and write the build instructions to convert these sources into binaries and understand how do we ship to the customers. So for that I am taking you to this example. This is a small example that I have picked up. It has source, then this is all your Java files. It has a set of Java files. As you know, these are called packages, and there are some HTML files that we want to copy, and the goal is that I want to create a zip file which I want to ship to my customers by compiling the source files and creating a jar file and then copying the web files and finally making a zip of the jar file as well as the web files as a bundle, and I want to distribute this bundle. That is my goal. I will repeat my goal. Build script is an action, but there is a goal. What is the goal? I want to ship this application to customers. So how do I ship the application? The application will be shipped as a zip file or a war file. So if I want to ship the application as a zip file, okay, so what are the contents of the zip file? There will be a jar file and there will be some HTML files. So how do I get the jar file? I need to compile the Java files and then bundle them as a jar file. So my goal is a zip file which contains jar files and some HTML files zipped or archived together. Then to get the jar I need to compile. Okay. So my build script is about compilation, creating a jar file, copying the HTML files, and then making one consolidated zip file which contains the jar files as well as the HTML files, and then I will ship it to my customers. Right. So first I will write my build script process. Whatever I have explained, I'll first set a clean description about what I want to write. 1. First I want to compile the Java sources. 2. Create a jar file. 3. Copy the web files into the build folder. 4. Create a zip file containing jar as well as web files. So these are some of my targets that I want to complete as part of automating the build process. And before that, so okay, let me put first as what target name is equal to, so first compile, right? Target name is equal to compile. Okay. Again, now let's go and understand the compile target. Okay. Compilation is Java compilation, right? So it is a Java C task. It is a Java C task. It will compile a Java source tree or Java packages. You can insert any, you can use any word there. So naturally, if you want to compile, you can assume, right? What do you expect? If you want to compile certain things, you want to know what is your, where are your Java files, right? That is more important. And then you should also know what is the destination that you want to place your compiled version. Nothing but .class files. Where do you want to place them? So naturally what you need is source directory as well as the destination directory. Okay. Then one important thing that I want to explain to you is a concept called class path. A concept called class path. What is class path? See, suppose when you are compiling your source files, okay, if they depend on any third-party jars, for example, you have written a search code, not you, the developer has written a search code. So the search functionality depends upon a third-party jar, say Lucene or something. There is a third-party jar. You have written logging into your Java program, and logging needs log4j jar as dependent. So if you want to compile your code, you need a third-party jar. So if you want to put those things, if you want to ensure that when you are compiling, you are providing these required jars, that path of those jars is set as your class path. Okay. So what is class path? I repeat. When you want to compile your sources, sometimes the sources will depend on the external jars. For example, in your script, in your Java program, you are writing, say for example, logger dot, there will be logging implementation in a Java program. So if you want to implement a logging mechanism, you should have a jar called log4j. If you have that log4j in the class path, then only you can compile that stuff. Otherwise, Java does not understand the log statements. They are not defaultly available in Java. So you are including an external jar to get those statements in place. So in that case, that is out of all this is the most important. If your developer says, for compiling these things, I need these jars in the class path. So you need not be puzzled. What is this? What this guy is saying? What all he is saying is, these sources, if you want to compile these sources, I need some dependencies. Those dependencies are in these jar files. So put these jar files in one folder and give their path in the class path attribute. In that way, I can easily compile my Java code. That is what is the meaning of class path. Okay. So when we see an example, it will be more clear for you. Otherwise, if you want to compile also, what all you require is what is your source and what is your source directory, what is your destination directory. Location of the Java files, location to store the class files. It's pretty clear, right? So take an example. Always we will go with the examples that are provided. So here you will have a lot of options. At this point, no need to worry. For example, if debug is not required, source, if you want to compile with any other version of Java, if you have multiple Java versions in your system, 1.5, 1.6, 1.7 and so on, if you want to compile this code with only this version, generally those things are not required in your scripts, but those are the features available. So class path, if you want to give any class path, you need to give, but right now I don't need any class path at this point. So source directory, what is your source directory? Where are your Java files? my Java files are, this is the build.xml. Relative to this, I have source. Okay, I have source, and from here my Java code starts. Okay, so source in the src folder, my Java code is available. So I will type it as src. Now, what is your destination directory? As I told you, do not spray your class files everywhere. Let's say you create one build folder, inside that you create one classes folder and you copy your class files into that folder. So this is my Java compilation. Simple. But as you see, do I have this directory already created? No. So let me take a target called init, where I will set up all my required directories. Okay. Target name is equal to init. And let me create, in the init I will create all the make directory statements. Whatever directories I want, I will create here. All at one place, so that you really know which directories are created by you. I will say build/classes. And as I told you, the first step in any build process is going to be the delete, clean up the existing build files, and then start afresh. So I will say target name is equal to clean. Okay, where my goal is to delete all the intermediate folders that I am creating. So far I am creating this intermediate folder, so let me delete this. Now what did I do? I have a target for compilation, target for creating the required directory structure that is needed for compilation, and the target to clean up the directory folder first before I start anything. So in other words, what I mean to say is, if I want to compile depends on init, because I want the directory structure to be created first, and init depends on clean because it wants to clean up first before it creates the things again. And let me set my default as compile. So if you look at the script more closely, what I am doing here is, my goal is to compile, but if I want to compile, I should have the destination directory. So I want to create the destination directory, and whatever directory I create in the build script, I should have a delete statement, so that first I will execute the delete to clean that folders and create that folders, and then I do a clean compile. That is my goal. If you look at the execution of the script, you will see, first, though default is compile, but since compile depends on init, it has come to init. Since init depends on clean, it has come to clean. Okay, so executed the clean target and executed the make directory, created the directory that you want, and then it compiled the source files into a new folder. Okay, this is the execution path so far. Now if you go and see your build folder, you will see classes folder, and then you can see all the packaging structure, all the Java files are compiled to their respective .class files. Okay, this is what I mean by compilation. Okay, so after compilation, what is our goal? We need to create a jar file, right? So let's go and create a jar file now. So what is our target? Next target, create a jar file. Okay, target name is equal to jar. Okay, depends is equal to compile. Done. Okay, target name is equal to jar, depends is equal to compile. Now let's go and see how do I write a jar target. See, jar wants compile. Jar naturally needs to compile first, right? That's why I put depends on compilation. Without compilation, how do you get your jar file? You get it? So that's why jar target depends upon the compile target. So now, what is jar syntax? Again, if you want to create a jar, what do you require? What is a jar basically? Jar is a bundle of your class files. So your input is going to be where are your class files. Your destination is going to be what is your name of your jar file and where your jar file should be placed. I repeat, what is a jar? A jar is an archive of what? Java classes. So jar is an archive of Java classes. So if you want to create an archive of Java classes, what do you require? The location where your Java classes are available, so that the ANT task can go and archive it. And once archive it, where should they be placed? In a particular location. So you need to provide your directory where your .class files are there, as well as the directory where your jar file should be placed. So this is what you require when it comes to jar. So once you understand that, if you read the task, it is very easy. You see the jar? Jar is a set of class files. That's the best sentence I can set. Okay. So naturally, destination file. What is your file and what is the name of the jar file that you want to create? Okay. So that is the destination file. Base directory. Base directory means the directory from which you want to jar. Means the directory where your class files are present. So these are the two things that you need to provide. And if you want to include and exclude certain files also, you can do that. If you don't want to include certain class files, you can do that. If you want to exclude certain class files or include certain class files, you can do that. Okay. Now go to an example. Jar. See, if you say what is your required jar, what is the destination file and what is your base directory? Where are your class files? What is the destination? Simple. Similarly here, what is your base directory? Where are your class files? What is your destination file? And include some test classes. I don't want certain test classes to be bundled in the jar, so I will exclude them. Or what is your source location? I mean, what is your location for class files? And what is your destination location where you want to place the jar file, and which files to include, which files not to include, certain things. Okay. So like this, you can see all the examples. So let us pick up one of these examples. Control C. Okay. So I want to create a jar. Okay, I want to create a jar. So let me create that jar in my, I would say, okay, build slash jar slash, I will say app 1.0.jar, first version. Okay. What is my base directory, guys? Where are my class files? My class files are in the folder build slash classes. Okay. So indeed, I want the classes present in the folder build slash classes, and I want them to be bundle them as a jar file. The name of the jar file is app1.0.jar, and I want this jar file to be placed under the folder build slash jar. Okay. So that is what I want to do. What all you need to know is where are your class file and where do you want to put your jar. That is this essence. Otherwise, jar writing this jar task is nothing. Now, let us make our jar as our default. Okay. So if you can see the if you see our execution path, default will be jar. Perfect. But jar depends on compilation first. So I want to compile. Compile depends on init. Init depends on clean. So clean up your class files, create your directory, compile them into the directory structure, then you create a jar for that. Okay, that's the logical flow. Now let me just execute it and see if things are fine. Clean, init, compile, create the jar. Okay. You can see build jar. I am creating a acquired jar. We could have done much better if we have just put that make directory as a best practice. Again, we are creating an intermediate file, right? So I am just saying build slash jar. Okay. And even though it's creating, but it's always good, you stay on top of your files that you are creating in the intermediate manner. Okay. So you are creating the build slash jar, and you are, so when you start it, you will delete these folders, Okay, and then it will create these folders, and then it will compile and then create your jar file. So next step in our discussion is copying the web files. So they are in the web directory. Now I want to copy them into build/web. So I created the required directory structure build/web where I want to copy my web files. Okay. Now let me see what my script for that. We have just written that. So let me review it. How do you copy the contents of a directory into another directory? Okay, we have seen that. So let's reuse that. It's our own script, right? So copy to directory. What is our two directory, guys? In the build folder, I want to copy them into web directory. What is the directory from which we want to copy? It is nothing but the web directory. So in the build, wherever the build script is executing, our directory is web. So the contents of this web directory should be copied into the build/web, and I don't have any exclusion so far. Leave it. No exclusions. As it is, you copy. That is what I mean to say. Okay. Now let's execute this. So I will execute this target alone. Okay, just to give you more variety. I will say ant space copy web files. Okay. So it copied one file into build/web. Great, we could achieve what we wanted. So if I say build web, you have the web directory copied comfortably into my build folder. Okay. Just imagine if this build folder is not there. Here itself I would have classes. Here itself I would have called jar. I would have got web, and it would have been chaos on separating which are sources and which are build artifacts. These are all the build artifacts, and I want them cleanly placed under the build folder. Okay. Now, finally, what is my last step, guys, in the script? Create a zip file containing the jar as well as the web files. So I want to have a zip target now. So it should have jar as well as it should have web files. Okay. So, but I have not included the copy web files in our execution path. If I execute it the present way, copy web files will not come because default is jar depends compile init clean. There is no way copy web files included. One way is I can say copy web file depends on jar and make copy web files as default. But that is not the best one because you don't need for copying, you don't need to depend on a jar, right? So I will try to do it in a different way, just to give you more ways to have call these targets. I will say target name is equal to distribution is my target. Okay, I will say depends. This depends on jar as well as copy web files. So what is the meaning of this, guys? And I will make this as my default target. So defaultly the execution will start at dist. We know that very well. And when it goes to dist, it will first look at jar and it will go to jar, compile, init, clean, all this will be done, come back, then copy web files. So the web files also will be copied. Now here I need to now do a zip target, get my zip target in place, zip task in place. So finally, if you look at the zip task, again, if you want to zip certain things, it's like jar only. Jar is also an archive only. Zip is also an archive only. So creates a zip file. Again, you need to have a directory saying where are your files to zip and where do you want to place the zip file. Okay. Destination file as well as the base directory, which is all we are clear with these things now, more or less. So you can see, So zip so where do I want to place my destination file? I will say for example, I will say in the dist folder, I will say slash app 1.0.zip. I want to place my zip file here. And where are my, okay, here I want you see the files that I want to zip. This is the jar file that I want to zip, and these are the web files that I want to zip. So I want to zip the jar file, this folder as well as my web folder. So I want to zip two separate folders. It is not one directory. If you see this example, here he is talking about one directory to zip, but we don't have like that. What we have is, I want to zip two folders, not one directory, but two directories I want to zip. So let me just see if there is any example which helps us. See here, zip destination file is this. You can use multiple directories here. So I will use this target because I have two directories to zip. I will use this target rather than the one that I used before. So I will say zip my directory is going to be let me create a folder called dist, and in that folder I will create a zip called app 1.0.zip. So which file sets, which directories do I want to place? One directory is web build/web. I want to bundle this directory. Also, I want to bundle the directory build/jar. Okay. I want to bundle these two directories as part of my zip target, and then my destination file is under the dist folder named as app 1.0.zip. Okay. Now if I run it, and you can see clean, init, compile, jar, copy files, and then you create your dist folder. Okay. You see there is a distribution folder wherein you have your app 1.0.zip, where if you open it, you will see app 1.0.jar as well as HTML files all packed together. Okay.